We are back with hour number 2 of Ron Seggi Today, live all across the USA and around the world on this last weekend of July. Can you believe that? Next weekend we'll be into the dog days of August. Well, on our show this second hour will be Rob Reiner. He's done so many things since All in the Family. A writer, a producer, an executive, an actor. He's going to be talking about a venture that's now out on DVD and on Netflix. Then also William Devane. I always liked William Devane. I always thought he was a very cool actor. He's on TV a lot, selling gold these days, but he had a remarkable career, and we'll be chatting to him about that. Then from the supergroup Earth, Wind, and Fire, Philip Bailey will be joining us, and then we're going to chat about e-commerce statistics with Gene Marks. And that's all coming up this hour, live all across the USA and around the world with Ron Seggi Today.
Welcome to Tax Talk with Hollywood legend Bob Eubanks.
You know, as part of Hollywood for a long time, I've seen my fair share of celebrities get in trouble with the IRS. Well, there's one name I trust, the Tax Defense Group. They're the most trusted name in tax. So if you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS, you really need to call my friends at the Tax Defense Group. Ignoring the IRS is not the solution. They can garnish your paycheck, levy your bank accounts, seize your home or business. But the Tax Defense Group could put a stop to all of that and tailor a program that would reduce your tax debt to pennies on the dollar. You gotta love that. So don't just take my word for it. Call them. Find out for yourself. They offer a 100% satisfaction guarantee. And they're open 24 hours a day because they know that tax debt doesn't sleep either.
Call now for your free and confidential tax analysis from the most trusted name in tax. Call 800-832-1594. 800-832-1594.
This report is brought to you by Bank of America. Bank of America was recently named Best Bank for College Students by Money Magazine. With so many new and returning students preparing for the start of the school year in the weeks to come, it's critical to have the right bank account for student needs. April Schneider, Bank of America.
It's very important to build a strong financial foundation early in adulthood. At Bank of America, we're committed to helping students start off on the right foot by providing them with best-in-class products like the Advantage Safe Balance banking account, along with educational resources such as Better Money Habits.
Bank of America's Advantage Safe Balance banking account allows students to bank without the worry of overdraft fees while providing them with full mobile access to their account. Eligible students under age 24 also don't pay a monthly maintenance fee. This account was named Best Student Account by Money Magazine and is used by over 1 million clients. For more, visit bankofamerica.com. That's bankofamerica.com.
We're back, and we're live all across the USA and around the world. It's Ron Seggi Today. Well, I tell you, I'm excited to have our next guest with us, not only because he's the full package, but because of what we're going to be talking about. A movie that he has coming out on DVDs and other platforms this week. It had a national release in theaters last fall, and now it's available for everyone to watch at home. Joining us right now is Rob Reiner. Hi, Rob. How you doing?
Hey, Ron. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm very glad that you are here. I mean, I know that there's so much to talk about in your illustrious career, one of being one of the founders of Castle Rock Entertainment and being responsible for so many great movies, you know, The Misery, Stand By Me, A Few Good Men. But coming up this week, after a national rollout in theaters last fall, LBJ on DVD. This is a great project. I'm a President's Buff with a replica of the Oval Office in my home, so I'm very excited about this. How did this come into play?
Well, that it's a great question because, you know, during the Vietnam War, I was of draft age. So for me, LBJ was my enemy. I didn't like him. And so I had very mixed feelings about taking on this project. But I thought about it, and I thought, you know, I've spent a lot of time in politics. You know, I've spent time working on public policy. I've actually had a job in California in the government. And I started thinking about LBJ and thinking that this guy had the most remarkable achievements domestically, legislatively, than any president except for possibly FDR. And had it not been for Vietnam, he would have gone down as one of the great presidents in American history. Now, you can't take Vietnam away, so you're essentially looking at a tale of two presidencies. And I started thinking, I said, well, who is this guy? He's got to be more than what I first imagined when I was young as a, you know, kind of a bull in the china shop, you know, arm-twisting guy. There has to be more to this guy. And as I did research, I realized he's a very, very complex character, and that there's a lot of sides to him that people don't know. He was very insecure. He had a recurring nightmare of being paralyzed at times. And so I wanted to be able to, paint a full picture of who this guy really is.
Well, like you, I grew up in the 60s also and had the same inner feelings about the Vietnam War and, being of draft age, so on and so forth. I find him extremely complex, as you mentioned. And, and there have been movies before with Randy Quaid and Bryan Cranston. But this, I know, is going to be one that's going to really show warts and all with this guy. He had a dark side. He had the scandals. He had the romances. He had the dealings with the FCC. But where does it start and where does it end, Rob?
Well, the interesting thing about what we decided to do here is we're looking at a very small sliver of his life. We do have flashbacks to when he was the majority leader, and we also see him, deciding to run for president and being a vice president. But basically, we focus on the very small 2-week period from the time that Kennedy arrives at Love Field till the time Johnson delivers the very famous speech to the joint session of Congress on civil rights. And in that period, he has to assume the presidency with the assassination of JFK. So we wanted to take a look at Johnson during the most stressful time, during the most difficult period of his life, and what that brings out in his personality. So that's really what we focused in on. So it's literally looking at that 2-week period, and we did it for that reason.
Well, I think that's sensational. Now, you have a couple of sibling producers on this thing, Tim and Trevor White. By any chance, are they related to Theodore White, who wrote a couple of editions of The Making of a President?
No,
okay.
No, they're not related, but they were the guys who initially developed this project, and it was based on, I think, an article that, or very loosely based on an article that was written by, Robert Caro, who was like the preeminent biographer of LBJ. There was an article, I think, in the New Yorker about him, that 24-hour period where he had to assume the presidency.
Now, a lot of people after this assassination really felt uncomfortable with this guy because he wasn't articulate, he was rough, he was crude, but he emerges as, will you say, a sympathetic character, in fact, more relatable than the Kennedys. Explain that, Rob.
Well, here was what Johnson feared. He feared that the American public would not love him the way they loved the Kennedys. Kennedys had they were charming, they were handsome, they had sex appeal, and he didn't, he thought of himself as not a particularly good-looking guy, and he could never live up to the Kennedys, and that America would never accept him. But what he did know he had is the ability to get things done. He talked of himself as a workhorse, and he thought, if I can just marshal all of the experience that I have in understanding how government works, the intersection of policy and politics, I could get things done for the American people, and they will then love me because of that. Mm-hmm. So that's what drove him, is he wanted to be loved, and he knew the only way he could get that to happen was to get things done. And you see the achievements. They're off the charts. I mean, not only the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, but Medicare and Medicaid and Head Start and the Great Society, the War on Poverty. I mean, he did so much. That's the way he was going to hope people were going to love him.
And I think your relation to his being like FDR is very good, because actually that was his mentor. Have you heard from his daughters, Rob?
My favorite thing about this whole experience, we showed this film at the LBJ Library. This is over a year ago.
Really?
And Lucy Baines was there. And after the film was over, I was so nervous about what she would think. I mean, we're showing her father up there and her father's relationship to her mother. And I asked her, I said, well, what did you think? And she stood up and she said, the man I saw on the screen tonight was the man I knew.
Whoa.
And I thought, well, that's it. I don't care. That's my review. I don't need anybody else to tell me.
I got the chills when you said that. Why Woody Harrelson? I mean, I know that he's a great actor. I mean, he's a sensational actor. But you had to put a lot of prosthetics on him. Why did you choose him?
Well, that is the greatest question, because anytime I tell people I made a movie about LBJ, the first thing is, well, who plays LBJ?
Right.
And I say Woody Harrelson. They say, no, he can't. What are you talking about? How can he be LBJ? And I say, well, you see what he's able to do. It's an extraordinary performance, and the reason I picked him is because we wanted to paint a three-dimensional picture of who LBJ was. And Woody not only being from Texas and also having a sense of humor like LBJ had, but Woody brings a tremendous humanity to the character. And we wanted to show the insecurities, the sensitivities, the feelings that he had of not being loved and all of that. And Woody brings all of that to the character. So I tell people, just wait till you see what he's able to do. And I hope people recognize it. I think, he should get nominated. I mean, to me, he's done some great performances over his career, but this, to me, is the best thing he's done.
Somebody told me that the prosthetics are so cleverly done that he can actually scratch himself if he has an itch.
Yes, we were very, very meticulous about giving him prosthetics that not just made him look like LBJ, but also gave him the flexibility and the pliability to move his face any way he wanted, to scratch any way he wanted.
Wow.
So it looks totally natural. I mean, you do see little of Woody. You see Woody coming through, but it paints this great picture of LBJ. You just look at his ears and you go, oh, my God, look at those. That's the LBJ ears.
Well, it's great timing coming up, the release nationally, because the release on some more public documents regarding the assassination, so the timing could not be better. I am very happy for you with this, Rob. I just cannot wait to see it. I have to tell you something. We have a ritual in our house, okay? Every evening at 9 o'clock on Antenna TV, we watch you and the sensational role, memorable, of course, Mike Stivic, and then the Johnny Carson Show on a cable channel called Antenna TV. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, how's your dad doing? 95 years old.
He's doing great. Thanks for asking. He gets up every morning and he writes every day. He has this great line that they made a documentary with him in it. He says, I wake up in the morning, I read the obits, and if I'm not in it, I eat breakfast.
I love him. He's phenomenal.
So that's what he does every day, and he's doing great. He's doing great. Thanks for asking.
That's great. Well, I hope this movie gets people to know LBJ better, and I urge everyone to see this.
Thank you so much, Ron.
Rob, I hope you do sensational with it. I really do, and please join us again. You're a great guest and a terrific talent.
Thank you.
Our guest has been Rob Reiner. He's the full package, as we mentioned, and the movie is LBJ, which was released nationally last fall in theaters across the country, and now available on different platforms like DVD and Netflix, called LBJ, the brainchild of Rob Reiner. And there's more to come with Ron Seggi today.
As a mother, you don't want to have to worry about this bill is coming, but then she needs this chemo. That's a decision you shouldn't have to make.
At St. Jude, a family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
The treatment doesn't get any better than what you receive at St. Jude. It saved my life. It saved my daughter's life. It saved our family.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures. Saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
As a mother, you don't want to have to worry about this bill is coming, but then she needs this chemo. That's a decision you shouldn't have to make.
It's a huge burden lifted financially, and so it allows you to give singular focus to your child. I've never known a hospital that takes care of their patients so thoroughly.
That was the first thing I was like, how are we going to do this? When they told us that we didn't have to pay a single bill, I was like, wow. They pretty much have saved us.
It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders, and now your focus is supporting this child.
There is not another hospital like St. Jude. The patient care is unmatchable. It saved my life. It saved my daughter's life. It saved our family.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures. Saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
It's pretty amazing when you consider that 7 years ago, we didn't have the treatments we have now. We cure 80% of children with cancer. Go back 50 years, we were curing 20 to 30%. This is the miracle story of modern medicine. We understand what makes this cancer tick. And of course, without donors from around the world, this just couldn't happen. There's one thing we're focused on, and that's beating this thing.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures. Saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
It is a horrible scenario, but it happens. Dennis writes about his wife. She was diagnosed with leukemia. In fact, she's a 2-time survivor. And in the midst of all that, they ran up over $1 million in medical bills. Thankfully, they're MediShare members. And Dennis says they are so thankful for that, how others came together to meet their needs. And that's how so many MediShare members feel. This is not health insurance. It's different. You don't have to pay for things you don't believe in. And like Dennis found out, it just works. So if you join MediShare, not only do you save a lot of money, the typical family saves about $500 a month, but you know where your money's going each month. You're helping people. And if the time should come, they'll be helping and even praying for you. So yes, it's different. And as more than 400,000 people now know, when it comes to healthcare costs, different is beautiful. Find out more. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
We're back and we're live all across the USA and around the world. We've interviewed over 19,000 people on the show, and I am sorry to say that he's only been on once. We got to get William Devane back on. Joining us right now is William Devane. Hi, Bill. How you doing?
Good, Ron. Thank you. That's very nice. Lovely introduction.
I think the memorable role as John F. Kennedy in the Missiles of October, I think of all the actors who have ever played JFK, you were the most convincing part that you did there and won an Emmy nomination for it.
Yeah, that was a while back. But and I was also the first, actually, I think, and the material was phenomenal. I had a lot of positives going for me back then when we did that one. But there's been a couple of good ones. Kinnear did a really good job, I thought, in that Kennedy thing. And
yeah, I thought he did too, but you had the look at everything. You captured it, as you've done with so many things. Your role on Knots Landing, a great season with 24, Live Another Day. Now you're working on a new project, and it's called 50 to 1. It's the story of Mind That Bird in the 2009 Kentucky Derby.
it was a lot of fun to do. I mean, I've had horses all my life, so I got 3 right here that I'm going to start riding in an hour. But it was really great fun for me to be involved with the horses, and we spent 8 days at Churchill Downs shooting right there at the track. And Calvin Burrell, of course, plays the jockey, and he plays himself in the movie. It was just unbelievable amount of fun, and it's a great story. We bought all the footage from NBC that was on television, and the blimp shot of that horse coming through that pack to win by 4 lengths is just unbelievable. It's really good. The movie's great. I love it.
I think it's going to be sensational. I'm anxious to see it. I really am. And you've had the opportunity not only having some very good roles, but working with some extremely well-known people over the years. You started off, and this I think was great. You went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City and did The Merchant of Venice and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. These are outstanding presentations. I mean, you have never really left the scene. And I'm going to quote something here that somebody said that I thought was pretty cool. And that is that when you go on stage, he dominates the stage like a bank robber with a gun. And you know what? That's true, Bill. That really is.
Yeah. Well, in those days, it was great. I had so much fun on the stage. We mentioned The Merchant of Venice. That was like the first thing I did for Joe Papp at the New York Shakespeare Festival. And, of course, Shylock was played by George C. Scott, who I hung around with for like 10 years. He was an incredible actor. So, you have mentors. You have people in front of you who you get to emulate, So certainly George, when he went on the stage, he was 6 bank robbers, Yeah. So it was great fun. It was great fun. I was really incredibly lucky to be able to, work with so many wonderful people. Marathon Man with Dustin and Laurence Olivier, it's just incredible. Vanessa Redgraves and Yanks. Always been around really good people, and that's, And in this movie, Skeet Ulrich is great. It plays Chip Woolley, the trainer, that if you remember it back when it was on television in 2009, he had broke his leg on his way there. So he was, crippled and hanging around with a big cast and crutches and everything and all that mud at Churchill Downs. He does a great job in it,
What was it like doing Family Plot and being with Alfred Hitchcock? I mean, that had to be an experience that you'll never forget.
Yeah, it was great. I actually replaced an actor 4 or 5 weeks in. Somebody he didn't get along with, and so they asked me if I would do it, and I said, yeah, sure. Are you kidding? Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, sure.
But he was fun to be around, and it was like working at a bank. Mm-hmm. You went to work at 9 o'clock in the morning, you went home 4 in the afternoon. He didn't waste any time. He had it all laid out. It was all storyboarded. He knew exactly what he was going to do, and it was great. And he told the most incredible stories every day at lunchtime. I would sit with him, and, you know, the actors would sit around with him, and he always had these fabulous stories. His wife was a close personal friend of George Bernard Shaw's. So he would tell all these unbelievable stories. But he was a great guy to be. That was his last movie.
Yeah, that was his last final cut. Now, you born in Albany, New York, and very near where I grew up in Pennsylvania. But if you didn't get into this business, which would have been a very big fault for all of us if you didn't get into it, because we wouldn't have enjoyed thousands of hours of your talent. But what would you have done?
Yeah, I was like an apprentice electrician when I left town, and that wasn't going to work for me. You know, I don't know what the hell I would have done, you know.
I read an article when you're talking about you have played so many government roles and presidents that I don't know if you've ever considered working in the political arena, running for office, because you certainly have all of the trappings of being a politician from the standpoint of image-wise. But you said graduating from high school with 9 shop credits, and here I am playing the educated, highbrow Commander-in-Chief John F. Kennedy. I bet you 10-1 that if you ran for governor or vice president, people would say, hey, we got to elect this guy. He's very convincing.
Yeah, as I often say, Ron, if I even understood politics, I'd own my own jet.
Let me tell you something. People in politics don't understand politics. So.
I get it, boy. Well, I don't think that's not for me. But I've been fortunate, you know. I keep playing these supposedly Ivy League either bankers or lawyers or, you know, I don't get it, but that's what they hire me to play. I guess it's because when you start out, you know, and your first big thing is playing JFK, of course, Missiles of October, everybody thinks that's where you're coming from.
Sure, absolutely. But, you know, I'm going to digress. Being a fella in the entertainment business and in the commercial business for many, many years, far more than I probably want to remember, you do a sensational job in selling gold and silver. It is so convincing, it's unbelievable. One time with the airplane, one time with the horses. Your father said to buy land. You got these great scenes that you're standing in front of. I mean, I just want to go out and buy gold and silver, Bill. I mean, you are so doggone convincing. I need you selling my radio show. You could sell anything.
There you go. There you go. We just did 5 new ones, which should start coming on. We've done so many of them. But I've had, you know, the people are really good that I work with, and I must say, I wish when I get up in the morning and look in the mirror, I look half as good as I look when they, you know, shoot those commercials. It's really cool.
Oh, you look sensational.
But it's been really nice doing it. The people are really nice, and called one day and said, would you be interested? I said, sure. What the heck?
You do a great job at that. Well, William, I'm going to ask you a favor, okay? And I meant this sincerely, okay? In years that we've done this, I think we've only been have you on the show one time, and that's when I wanted to call Wendy and say, Wendy, you need to bring William Devane back on. He's terrific. I mean, he's just as hot today as he was 40 years ago. And just don't be a stranger. We'd love to have you come back again. You're a great guest.
Yeah, no, I'd love to come back. Listen, until 24 came out, half of them thought I was dead. So it's nice to know that I'm working again a little bit more, and it's fun, you know. And I mean, I'd rather be up here fishing, obviously, which is what I'm doing in Montana right now. Once it starts to snow, I want to go to work.
Yeah, there you go. Do you ever get down to Orlando?
You know, I haven't been down to Florida. Once in a while, I go down to Wellington because I've been doing polo for so long. I have a lot of friends. So sometimes I come down in April for the U.S. Open. But other than that, I haven't been to Florida in a while.
Well, if you do, make it a point that we let us know, and so we can get together.
Come by and see you. Really?
Yeah, so we can. We don't have no horses here. We've got a lot of dogs, but that's another story and another thing. It's an older neighborhood.
Right.
Bill, thanks again. I really appreciate it. I look forward to having you back.
Thanks, Ron. Take care, man.
You too, my friend. William Devane's been our guest.
You shine star, and who you are, shine bright to see, who truly be. You shine star, and who you are, shine bright to see, who truly be. Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be. Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be. Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be. Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be. Shining star for you to see, come on, what your life can truly be.
You know, it's nice when you're able to say you don't have to introduce the music you just heard because it's known worldwide and has been for a lot of years. I tell you, it just doesn't get any better than Earth, Wind, and Fire. And there's a new book called Shining Star, which is in front of me right now in hardcover, and it's Braving the Elements of Earth, Wind, and Fire, penned by one of its founding fathers. Actually came into the group a couple of years later, but really runs it now. Philip Bailey joins us. Hi, Philip. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you.
Philip, this book is sensational. I've had this on my desk for a couple of weeks, and finally I picked it up and I started reading it. Could not put it down. This is a great profile of what, as is quoted, and I love this line, happens when real life exceeds your dreams. What a story, Philip.
Well, thank you so much. You know, I wrote it as a backdrop to what has now become the soundtrack of so many people's lives, to give them a little inside view of what was going on inside my mind and heart and life as these songs were written and recorded. Those of us who've been with us for quite some time that came to some of the larger shows back in the day when we were doing those, to give them some insight as to what was going on. And then just to speak inspirationally to the fact that, you know, life had to go on, and how I survived the ups and downs, the ins and outs, for now almost 45 years.
I would assume writing this had to be a little bit of a tough venture because you go through the great times and the bad times. I mean, first of all, the group joined through the efforts of Maurice White. You joined it, in 1972 you became the lead singer?
Yes.
Okay.
And originally I was going to be the main lead singer, and then as Maurice being the writer and conceptualizer, as he was writing things, and me and him really kind of, it was like a hand in glove in terms of us understanding, being in sync with one another. The vocal sound became, myself and Maurice. So we would just mult everything and sing all the tracks, every chorus, every line, and the whole vocal sound is myself and Maurice.
And they talk about the concept, which was Maurice's definition of what his idea in his mind was, even sitting down and putting ideas and stage presentations and things on a piece of paper. But you talk about the early years, and I always enjoy hearing about the early years because it reminds me of the people who think that struggle to get to where he is. You talk about your mom being concerned about respiratory issues because you played the sax. You tell a great story about stealing milk when you were younger. And then you talk about the Philly gig uptown, and you had enough money to get to this gig, but you didn't know if you had enough money to come back, and you really did something on stage in the beginning, which you were all very apprehensive about doing, just sitting there.
Just sitting there in the lotus position and staring at the audience as they threw stuff at you and called you names.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just kind of transfixed and kind of hypnotized them with our stoic postures and so forth, and then introduced this little African thumb piano, the kalimba sound that they had never, heard before, electrified like that, and then just went into our set and stole the audience.
Tell us about how you met Maurice.
Well, I met Maurice because the first band played in Denver on a promotional tour, and our band was asked to open the show, and so I met him on the elevator. Going up the elevator, and he had on a big cowboy hat and some bell-bottom pants, and looking very city slick, and I was looking very country bumpkin, and he smelled like coconuts.
Did he?
Yeah, because that was the day back in the day. The oils,
coconut oil, yeah,
everybody was wearing. So, so that was my first memory.
Now, a gentleman by the name of Perry Jones was very influential in your career too, wasn't he?
He sure was. He actually started to mentor my band, who Larry Dunn was part of, and Andrew Woolfolk in Denver. He was working there with Transcontinental Distributing. Yeah, and so he was the one that actually is responsible for my meeting Maurice and moving on to Los Angeles. So he has he had a great part to do in my life.
Now, all of this great creativity, this fantastic fan following, these large arenas and stadiums that you're doing, and in 1983, it comes to a kind of a end when Maurice breaks up the group. It's in a financial and emotional end, I might add, both things. Then you teamed up with Phil Collins with the duet Easy Lover, but then reformed the group, and you became the new leader of the group then.
Yeah, well, when we reformed the group, Maurice was still there for a few years, and when we reformed the group, he was just at the beginning, hadn't been diagnosed yet with Parkinson's, but later on it was he was unable to do any more touring, and that's how I became the de facto leader. Yeah, but I tell you something, you've done a heck of a job. And, again, I go back to what I said earlier about everybody thinking that fame all of a sudden just happens to you. Here you were at the top of the game, and you were playing a gig in Japan at a halftime of an automobile race. And there you are in the middle on a bandstand where you used to be at stadiums. And you and Maurice looked at each other and said, what the heck happened here? Yeah, exactly. We said, well, you know what? If this is the way we're going to go out, then we should just leave it here. Yeah. So we contemplated leaving it there, but we had the wrong management. We were at that time we were with the late Jerry Weintraub, and just making some wrong decisions. But we went through a period where I call the no man's land. Whether you don't know if you have any significance, and you're starting to really wonder, if you should hang it up. Yeah. And we had to survive that time period too, to get to the resurgence, which now has never stopped. No, you're absolutely right. And what I like about this book, and I know that our listeners are going to like it too, is that you not only talk about the professional bumps in the road, but the personal ones. I mean, absent father and husband, how you reconcile with your dad, the reason why you wrote the song Reasons about your earlier life in bars playing as a youngster, right, and keeping the band together. But you got some personal stuff in here, and a great pictorial, I might add, about what it takes to really sustain a very difficult career in the entertainment business. Well, I actually met the Lord in 1975. I'm a Christian, and that's when things began to kind of come together. Not without many, ups and downs, bumps in the roads or whatever, but with a more sustained, purposeful focus on, my destiny. And so I talk about that in the book as well. You did a great job. I am being very honest with you. A terrific job. As I mentioned earlier, enormous amount of success with over 90 million records sold, 8 Grammy Awards out of 20 nominations, a 2000 induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and now a big author with the book Shining Star, Braving the Elements of Earth, Wind, and Fire, penned by its lead singer, Philip Bailey. Philip, do me a favor. I know that you are on a horrendous schedule these days, but would you come back and join us sometimes? I would love to have you back. You're not only a great guest, a magnificent talent, a very good author. This is a good book. Well, thank you very much. It's been my honor to talk to you today, and I sure will. I'll come back and visit anytime you'd like me to. Philip, thanks for doing that. Good luck with the book, and I urge everybody to get it. Shining Star, Braving the Elements of Earth, Wind, and Fire, available in hardcover as we speak, written by the great Philip Bailey. Thanks, Philip. Look forward to having you back, my friend. Thank you. What a guy, what a group. Earth, Wind, and Fire. And there's more to come today.
Shining Star, thank you to see. Put your life in happy. Shining Star, thank you to see. Come on, put your life in true happy.
It is a horrible scenario, but it happens. Dennis writes about his wife. She was diagnosed with leukemia. In fact, she's a 2-time survivor. And in the midst of all that, they ran up over $1 million in medical bills. Thankfully, they're MediShare members. And Dennis says they are so thankful for that, how others came together to meet their needs. And that's how so many MediShare members feel. This is not health insurance. It's different. You don't have to pay for things you don't believe in. And like Dennis found out, it just works. So if you join MediShare, not only do you save a lot of money, the typical family saves about $500 a month, but you know where your money's going each month. You're helping people. And if the time should come, they'll be helping and even praying for you. So yes, it's different. And as more than 400,000 people now know when it comes to healthcare costs, different is beautiful. Find out more. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
We're back live all across the USA and around the world. You are listening to Ron Seggi today. And this is a very interesting segment. I hope that you'll listen to all of it because it really applies to all of us. Again, this year, since I guess this is the fourth year because they started in 2015, Amazon has hosted Prime Day. And this year it was a couple of weeks ago, July 15th and 16th. The numbers are in for 2019. And joining us right now is nationally known columnist and author specializing in small businesses. He's written 6 books on small business management. His work has been seen in the Washington Post, New York Times, Philadelphia Inquirer, Forbes, and Entrepreneur Magazine, to name a few. Joining us right now is our friend Gene Marks. Hi, Gene. How are you? Welcome back to the show.
Ron, it's great to speak with you. And let me correct you. First of all, I'm a CPA, which means I'm good at math, okay? So it's 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19. 5 years, not 4.
5 years. Well, I want to tell you, this is one of the reasons why I didn't do well in math. This is the reason why I like history, okay? Because, you don't have to add George Washington and Abraham Lincoln,
right.
Okay? You can just...
Respect for that.
Okay.
Respect for that.
Let's talk about this now, all right? What are the new numbers? Because I believe, if my numbers are correct, and it probably isn't, last year was like something like $1.5 billion in sales. Was it more than that this year, Gene?
Yeah, it was a lot more than that. It was a big year for Amazon Prime, right? So it was a 2-day event this year, and again, it's open for Prime members to buy stuff at discounts that are offered. And there were 175 million items that were shipped to Prime customers in 18 different countries. Listen to this, Ron. The sales from Prime Day alone exceeded the sales from Black Friday and Cyber Monday combined. So, as you know from our past conversations, I cover small businesses and actually most interested in how did this affect small businesses and Amazon small merchants, and I guess it's no surprise it had a big positive effect for them as well.
First of all, small business items that are sold on Amazon come from small business. But a lot of times people will relate shopping online to the loss of jobs. I noticed here that there was a comment said that a great source for new jobs for many people is shopping online. Clarify that, because I think that's an interesting and valid point that needs to come to light, because I think a lot of people think, as they did when the car was invented, that who's going to shoe the horses?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, and again, I'm very sensitive to that too. To these big online companies, are they killing jobs or something? And it's actually quite the opposite. I mean, half the stuff that's sold on Amazon is sold by a small or medium-sized company.
Right.
There's 1.9 million of them that are selling stuff on Amazon. Who is doing that work? I mean, somebody has to be building and shipping and doing the accounting and all the paperwork. Jobs are needed, and those 1.9 million small business owners on Amazon, they've created 1.6 million jobs. Since inception. It is a big job maker, and it's not just the companies. You see those, the films of the Amazon warehouses and the packages shipping back and forth. It's small businesses all around the country. There is a company that I know, a little business called Gina Soft Cloth Shop. They're in West Virginia, and they sell cotton embroidered products, tablecloths and napkins and stuff that that kind of stuff for the household. This woman, Gina Jordan, she employs mothers, part-time. So these women have time to spend time with their children and also have the ability to make an income. And Gina's Soft Cloth Shop is just one example of just, millions of small businesses that are out there selling online and employing people to help them make money. I don't think these e-commerce businesses are taking away jobs. I think they're creating more opportunities.
It does, though, to an extent, threaten the box stores, does it not?
It threatens the box stores, the brick-and-mortar merchants who don't wake up to the fact that it is 2019 and not 1979.
Yeah.
So, I have really right in my neighborhood where I live, we have a pharmacist that's still there. Somehow has not been eaten up by the big brands, but, I see his business being whittled away year after year, and I think his business is being whittled away because big brands and online merchants are eating away at his customers, and he doesn't seem to be doing anything about it. And I think that the smart entrepreneurs that my readers and my clients, they realize that if they're going to sell from their store, they also have to open up other channels, Ron. They have to be selling to different groups of customers, and many of them are moving online to do so. And I know we're talking about Amazon Prime Day, but listen, Amazon is not the only game in town. You can sell stuff off your own website. There's other platforms. Whenever people ask me about selling online, I always say, listen, Amazon is the world's biggest marketplace, so you probably want to start there, although there's a lot of rules you have to follow. You got to provide good service and ship stuff on time and do your job well. But I don't know, if you do that, you open your business up to a lot of opportunities to sell to customers that will never walk through your front door for deals like the Prime Day stuff that Amazon does. And that's what smart business owners are doing.
Did any of the inventory that was sold show different trends on different items or services?
Well, on Prime Day itself, the biggest selling items were like electronic items and household items, and I guess that goes, that kind of goes without saying, But really, it's really businesses that sell just about anything as long as they provide a good service behind it. A little company in Texas called Brooke and Jess Designs, and they're two sisters, and they sell like gifts. They labeled coffee mugs and stuff like that, and they're making money at it, and it's very popular. And their husbands actually were unfortunately unemployed, and their husbands joined up with them, and now it's the four of them making a livelihood doing that. So I don't know. It's funny. When I look at business today, I truly believe, Ron, you could be a blacksmith and still make a profit if you're very, very good at what you do.
I agree.
And so you don't necessarily have to be in a best-selling product category to really earn a good living selling online or selling on Amazon. You just have to be the best at it.
I couldn't agree with you more. Where can we go for more information, Gene?
Well, I tell a lot of my clients, a lot of my readers, if they're looking to get online, I kind of point them towards Amazon. It's the biggest marketplace. If they go to Amazon.com/storefronts, that's the place where Amazon will walk you through how to set up a business online, and also you can learn about other opportunities for doing business with them. And Ron, as I know you're a big supporter of small business.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, you want to buy from small businesses only. If you go to Amazon.com/storefronts or Build Your Business, those are the two places that you can find where you can buy products directly from small businesses as well.
Gene, there's no doubt about it. Now, I know that you corrected me in the beginning with that math, so I know that you're a certified public accountant. So take these numbers down: 6,287,283 minus 3,407,207. What's the result of that?
I said I'm a certified public accountant. I didn't say I'm a good certified public accountant. Okay, no, what's my calculator here?
Okay, one for the talk show host. Hey, Gene, thanks for joining us, and please, we look forward to having you back, my friend.
Thanks, Ron. Great speaking.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Gene Marks has been our guest, talking about e-commerce can really be such a spark to the backbone of our country, small business. And there's more to come with Ron Seggi today.
As a mother, you don't want to have to worry about this bill is coming, but then she needs this chemo. That's a decision you shouldn't have to make.
At St. Jude, a family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
The treatment doesn't get any better than what you receive at St. Jude. It saved my life. It saved my daughter's life. It saved our family.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures. Saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
As a mother, you don't want to have to worry about this bill is coming, but then she needs this chemo. That's a decision you shouldn't have to make.
It's a huge burden lifted financially, and so it allows you to give singular focus to your child. I've never known a hospital that takes care of their patients so thoroughly.
That was the first thing I was like, how are we going to do this? When they told us that we didn't have to pay a single bill, I was like, wow. They pretty much have saved us.
It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders, and now your focus is supporting this child.
There is not another hospital like St. Jude. The patient care is unmatchable. It saved my life. It saved my daughter's life. It saved our family.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
It's pretty amazing when you consider that 7 years ago, we didn't have the treatments we have now. We cure 80% of children with cancer. Go back 50 years, we were curing 20 to 30%. This is the miracle story of modern medicine. We understand what makes this cancer tick. And of course, without donors from around the world, this just couldn't happen. There's one thing we're focused on, and that's beating this thing.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
It is a horrible scenario, but it happens. Dennis writes about his wife. She was diagnosed with leukemia. In fact, she's a 2-time survivor. And in the midst of all that, they ran up over $1 million in medical bills. Thankfully, they're MediShare members. And Dennis says they are so thankful for that, how others came together to meet their needs. And that's how so many MediShare members feel. This is not health insurance. It's different. You don't have to pay for things you don't believe in. And like Dennis found out, it just works. So if you join MediShare, not only do you save a lot of money, the typical family saves about $500 a month, but you know where your money's going each month. You're helping people. And if the time should come, they'll be helping and even praying for you. So yes, it's different. And as more than 400,000 people now know, when it comes to healthcare costs, different is beautiful. Find out more. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Well, that's going to put a wrapper on things on Ron Seggi today for this last weekend of July. I want to thank you and all of our guests for being part of the show. And they include artist Peter Max, comedian Bill Engvall, from Fox News, my friend Brian Kilmeade, and from the Smithsonian Channel, Phil Coogan. Also want to thank Rob Reiner, actor William Devane, from Earth, Wind, and Fire, Philip Bailey, and Gene Marks. Well, we'll be looking for your company come next week when we're going to do it again live all across the USA and around the world with Ron Seggi today. And then we will be in the first weekend of August 2019. And until next weekend, I'm Ron Seggi, hoping that you have blue skies and green lights.